In a sunlit world brimming with hope, a 14-year-old girl stepped onto a film set, unaware that her smile would change the face of an era. That girl was Hayley Mills. With wide eyes and a soft voice, she captured something far deeper than youthful charm. She became a symbol of innocence at a time when the world needed it most. For millions, she wasn't just acting in Pollyanna. She was Pollyanna. And yet behind that glowing image of happiness and optimism was a child quietly learning that fame wasn't freedom. It was a carefully decorated cage. Born in London in 1946 to a family steeped in art and performance, Hayley seemed destined for the stage. Her father, Sir John Mills, was one of Britain's most respected actors, and her mother, Mary Hayley Bell, a playwright of grace and imagination. Still, no one quite expected the shy youngest daughter to eclipse them both. Hayley was quiet, introspective, observant, traits that didn't scream stardom. But life had other plans. At age 12, she stumbled into her first role not because of ambition, but because director J. Lee Thompson was so mesmerized by her during a search for a young boy to play the lead in Tiger Bay that he rewrote the entire script just to cast her. Her performance didn't just impress, it stunned critics and audiences alike. She won a BAFTA and caught the attention of Disney's Bill Anderson, who immediately flew her to California to meet Walt Disney himself. And just like that, Hayley Mills became America's sweetheart. Her performance in Pollyanna won her a special Oscar. She starred in 6 Disney films, including the beloved The Parent Trap, and the world fell head over heels for the cheerful British girl with a dazzling smile. But behind the curtain, things weren't so perfect. The public saw magic, but Hayley was being shaped, molded, and managed like a delicate product. Every line she spoke, every dress she wore, every role she considered had to be approved. By her parents, by her agents, and most critically, by Disney. For years, Hayley lived inside a spotless image she couldn't escape. She was not allowed to grow up, at least not publicly. The studio refused to let her take roles that involved anything remotely adult. When Stanley Kubrick offered her the lead in Lolita, a role that could have changed the trajectory of her entire career, her father and Walt Disney instantly rejected it. The script was dismissed before Hayley could even speak. For the first time, she realized that no matter how famous she was, her voice didn't carry real power. Her body, her talents, even her future, were not her own. That rejection didn't just cost her a role. It pierced something inside her. She saw clearly that her life had been scripted not just on screen, but off it too. By the time she turned 20, Hayley had outgrown the label of child star, but the world refused to let her shed it. As her Disney contract neared its end, she stood at a painful crossroads. Staying meant security, money, and continued fame. But it also meant staying frozen at age 14. Choosing freedom meant walking away from everything she had built. She made her decision. She walked away. What followed was not immediate liberation, but staggering loss. She discovered that the millions she had earned as a child star were almost entirely gone. Due to a British tax policy that swallowed 91% of her income, and a lawyer who mishandled her finances, Hayley found herself broke. When she had finally hoped to enjoy the rewards of her hard work, all she received was a devastating lesson in trust and betrayal. That betrayal wasn't just financial. It was deeply personal. Her entire childhood had been negotiated by adults who made decisions in boardrooms, offices, and film studios without ever asking what she wanted. When the legal fight failed, she didn't just lose money. She lost faith in the very people who were supposed to protect her. And yet, Hayley wasn't done. In fact, her next choice would become the most controversial of her life. At 20, she starred in The Family Way, and the world watched in shock as the once innocent Disney star appeared in a nude scene. For Hayley, it wasn't about rebellion for its own sake. It was about taking back control. She wasn't a child anymore, and she refused to play one. She also fell in love during that film, with director Roy Bolting. He was 32 years older, married, and deeply embedded in the British film industry. Their romance drew gasps and headlines, but Hayley didn't care. For the first time, she chose a man on her own terms. She lived with him openly, married him, and had a son, Crispian. But the same power dynamic she tried to escape reappeared in her personal life. The generational gap between them became impossible to ignore. Jealousy, control, and emotional distance turned their relationship bitter. The marriage ended in divorce, and though painful, it marked the final break from her childhood shadow. She no longer belonged to Disney. She no longer had to be perfect. She no longer had to ask for permission. Hayley continued to search for love, not fairy tale love, but real, flawed, adult connection. Her relationship with actor Hywell Bennett offered some peace, as did her partnership with American actor Lee Lawson, with whom she had another son. But it wasn't until 1997, when she met Indian-American actor Ferda Bomji, that she found something truly different. He was 20 years younger, but what mattered was the quiet understanding between them. For the first time, she found companionship without judgment or imbalance. No need to perform. No need to explain. Just peace. And still, the deepest struggles she faced were the ones hidden behind her smile. During her teens and early 20s, Hayley suffered from bulimia. It began quietly, a response to the constant pressure to be thin, to look childlike, to remain the picture of innocence. In those days, eating disorders weren't understood, much less talked about. She carried that shame in silence, afraid that if people saw her struggle, they would stop loving her. The emotional toll was enormous. She learned to pretend she was okay, even as her body and mind were in turmoil. It would take years before she found the language to describe what she'd endured, and even longer before she felt brave enough to speak publicly about it. But when she did so not as a victim, but as a survivor, using her voice to help others feel less alone. Hayley never tried to claw her way back to the top of Hollywood. That world had taken enough from her. Instead, she kept acting quietly, steadily, in TV shows and films that allowed her to play complex, grounded characters. Roles that finally reflected the woman she had become. She chose parts with thoughtfulness, not ambition. She didn't need the spotlight anymore. In 2021, she released her memoir, Forever Young. It wasn't a sanitized celebration of fame. It was raw, reflective, and honest. She wrote about her eating disorder, her lost fortune, her romantic mistakes, and her cancer diagnosis in 2008. But what stood out most was her calm. Her clarity. Her ability to look back not with bitterness, but with understanding. The contrast between Hayley Mills the icon and Hayley Mills the woman is stark. The world wanted her to always be Pollyanna. Forever cheerful, forever innocent, forever grateful. But the truth is far more compelling. Her life was a slow and painful fight to reclaim her identity. From the moment she was handed a script, she was told who to be. It took decades to finally write her own. And yet, in the quiet rhythms of later life, Hayley found joy not in applause, but in small human moments. She raised her children. She cooked vegetarian meals. She tended to her garden. She meditated. She studied Eastern philosophy. She lived with intention and softness, far from the flashing lights that once defined her. Even after cancer, she approached healing in her own way, trusting her body, listening to her instincts, and rejecting the noise. Hayley Mills's legacy isn't built on headlines or awards. It's built on her refusal to be anything but real. She was a girl who smiled on camera and wept behind it. A woman who loved boldly and walked away when it hurt. A star who vanished from center stage not because she faded, but because she chose a different kind of light. The kind that doesn't burn out. The kind that glows gently from within. In an industry obsessed with youth and perfection, Hayley Mills taught us that there's courage in aging, power in honesty, and beauty in survival. Her story matters not because she was flawless, but because she wasn't. She stumbled, she broke, she healed, and through it all, she never stopped trying to be her truest self. If you felt connected to this story, if it made you think or feel something real, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's more to come. Stories that go beyond the spotlight and remind us that behind every icon, there's a person. One who lived, struggled, loved, and endured, just like Hayley Mills.